you guys all see the stream? Let me know if you can.
I think it was lagging when we first joined, but I think it works now.
It's good now? Okay, cool. Okay, so at any time, because I'll be sharing my screen a few different times, so if you can't see it, just let me know, because obviously this is pretty, like you have to see this to understand what's going on. Yeah, anyway, so I think I'll start now, in case any others join. But so you already know this is a Linux workshop. I'm just gonna go over what Linux is briefly before we start, but mostly I want this to be hands-on, so you guys can like try a whole bunch of the commands out in the command line interface to get used to it. But first, I'll just explain briefly what Linux is. So it's an operating system, not too different from Windows and Mac OS. But the main difference comes in that it's open source, which means that it's not developed by one company like Microsoft or Apple. It's actually developed by a group of people, or like a whole bunch of people from all around the world. And the reason there's so many different, here you'll see distributions or flavors of Linux, it's because there's so many different people working on it, and everybody has their own vision of how Linux should look. So people make up their own versions. So that's why you'll see there's Ubuntu, Arch Linux, Fedora, Kubuntu. These are all different flavors of Linux, and they all work the same way, kind of at the core. They have a command line interface. The commands are the same. It's just they're used for different things. So for example, here, this is Kali Linux, and if we have time at the end, I'll go over this, but Kali Linux is good for penetration testing or for ethical hacking. So it's a specific distribution just for hacking. And yeah, so that being said, I'm going to jump into the basics of how we use Linux in a command line interface. And also, I just want to say, if you guys ever have any questions, you don't have to wait till the end. Just let me know, and we'll go over them. Okay, so I'm going to paste this link so you guys can follow along here. This is a virtual terminal window. I have no idea how well it's going to work out. If it doesn't work out too good, that won't be good, but we'll see. I'm going to paste this in the Filled with Fools general chat. So.
Wait, Rocky, put it in workshops, because I think people are trolling right now. Yeah.
Good point. Okay, I'll put it here in workshops. So go ahead, open that link, and you should have access to a remote terminal window. Okay, so you guys all have that link up and running? I will take silence as a yes. So, okay. So what I'm going to do here, actually, I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to share my whole screen now. And let me know if you won't be able to see it. But basically, I want to show you side by side how we'd be going through a command line interface and a graphical user interface, and how basically the commands that I'm doing are the same. Like the executions are the same. So can anyone not see my screen right now? Is it loading for any of you guys?
It's good.
It's good? Okay, cool. Okay, so let me open up this window, this terminal. Okay, so I'll first show you guys what we're about to do in a graphical user interface, which is something you guys should all probably already know how to do. So I just open up my File Explorer. Oh, okay, sure. Let me know when you guys are good to go then.
Ready.
Okay, cool. So here. So I'm sure you guys already know how to do this. If I go to desktop, right click, new folder, I'll call this folder stuff. And then I'll go inside the folder and I'll create a text document called text file, right? I don't think I did anything crazy. You guys should all know how to do that and how that's all working. But to do that in the command line interface, is a bit of a different story. And I'll show you guys how we would do that. So you can also use this online terminal here. I'm going to use a regular bash window because I think it's a little bit better than this kind of crappy website. But here, we'll go over this. So actually, first I'll explain the hierarchy of folders. So here you can see that we have desktop, downloads, documents, pictures. These are all obviously different folders, or we also call them directories. So to go from one directory to another, obviously I just click like this. In a command line interface, you don't have use of the mouse. You only have a keyboard. So to go from one directory to another, you would use a command called cd, which stands for current directory. And you would put the name of the directory after the command. So wherever I want to go. So in this case, I want to go to my desktop. So I type cd desktop. And now I'm on my desktop. Obviously, it doesn't look any different, right? But in the command line interface, all you have to do to see if you've changed somewhere is you just look at this line here, and you'll see now it says desktop. So I'm actually on the desktop. So it's the exact same thing as just going and clicking here in File Explorer. Okay, so it's a pretty simple command. It just means you're navigating from one directory to another. From here, I can do a whole bunch of stuff, right? I can create a folder just like we did over here. So again, the way we created a folder is by right-clicking and hitting new folder. The command to create a folder in Linux is mkdir. I want to call this whatever. I'll call this bubble folder. And by doing that, you'll now see, look, bubble folder has been created on the desktop. It's the exact same thing as right-clicking and creating a new folder. And right now, I'm kind of giving an overview of all these commands, and I'm going a little bit fast. I'm going to break all this stuff down. We'll talk about all this stuff in a bit. I just kind of want to show you that Linux isn't too different from what you're used to if you're just using these commands. It's actually pretty intuitive. So I made a folder. Now, if I wanted to go inside this folder, I just double click. Now, does anyone know how I would go inside the folder using a command line interface? You guys can just speak out and let me know if you know the answer is.
So cd the folder.
Yeah, so cd bubble. And then you can actually have autocomplete in these command line interfaces. So if you just hit tab, it completes the rest for you. So doing that, now I'm actually inside this folder, right? Any questions on anything I've done so far? Okay, I'll take that as a note. So we're good. We're inside the folder. Now I want to make a text file, just like I did over here using the File Explorer. So the way to do that is you use a command called touch, and whatever the file name you want it to be. So I'll call this bubble file. So now if you go inside bubble folder, you'll see we have a text document called bubble file. And we're doing all this from the command line interface. Okay, so that was just a little basic rundown of some really basic Linux commands. I just wanted to give you guys kind of an overview. Now, if I wanted to edit a text file, right? Again, here you would have to open the file, double click, and then pick an application to type in, stuff like that. In the terminal window, you can just type nano, and then the name of the file you want to edit. And now we're in a little interface where we can type whatever we want. So I'm going to type hello world, happy face. Oh, that's a weird happy face. There we go. And then Control X. Oh, actually, I'll go over this part slowly. So I've just typed some stuff in this file. To save it, it's a little bit tricky when you're first starting out. All the menu options are here at the bottom, right? So to exit, this little arrow means control. So I would hit Control X, and now I have a new menu that says, do I want to save what I have? I'll hit Y for yes, and then I hit enter. And now bubble file has the words hello world.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
How is Nano different than Vim?
I'll go over that as well. It's just a different text editor. Like you see how when I was opening this, you have like, you know how you have multiple ways to open a document? I could have used Notepad, I could have used Notepad plus plus, stuff like that. It's like another way to edit text files, and I'll go over this more in detail. But if you just did this, you'll see this is another text editor that's a little bit less intuitive, because you'll see if I just did VI and then the file name, and if I try to type something right now, I'm getting all these weird noises, right? So to actually insert into a text file using VI, you'd have to use I and then start typing. But I'll talk more about this later. Oops. I'll talk more about Vim. Okay, we're stuck in here. Okay, yeah. So does everyone follow how we first went to the desktop, created a folder, navigated to the folder, made a file, edited the file? Does anyone have any questions on any of that stuff? Guys, good? Okay, I mean, I'll take it as if it's silent, then there's no questions. So now I already talked how to open and edit a text file, right? It's just nano. If you don't really want to open the text file, but you want to read out the contents, there's a command called cat, so C-A-T, and then the name of the file, prints out everything you have to the terminal window. Okay, so it's just an alternative to opening a file. Also, there's a few other cool things you can do to print out the stuff in a file. So let's go back into bubble file and I'll edit it, right? Let's say hello world 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a whole bunch of lines, right? And I'll explain why I'm doing that. So if you look here, see how I have to scroll to look at all that information I have? Kind of messy. It's not really neat. And let's say I only wanted the information at the bottom of the file. I don't really care about the stuff at the top. Well, you have a command in Linux called tail. Put the number of lines you want. So I'll say 4. So I'm going to get the bottom 4 lines, and then the name of the file. Notice I get 111. And the reason we're getting this one is because I actually hit enter at the end. So there's white space here. So we got these 4 lines. So this is just an example of printing stuff from a text file into a terminal window, and it's a little bit more powerful than what you would normally do in File Explorer, because normally you'd have to open up a file, right? And then scroll, pick the application you want, and then scroll down, copy, paste what you want. Right? In this case, it's much easier to just, with a few simple commands, just get exactly what you want. You can also do the same thing with the front or the top of a file. You just use head instead of tail, and it gives you the first 4 commands on the very top. Any questions so far? I'm not going over anything super complicated. I don't know if you guys all know this stuff already. Actually, I'll ask that. Do you guys know this already, or is this new? Can someone let me know?
It's pretty good.
Good. Okay, cool. All right, so let me go back here. So that was just kind of the basics of printing from a text file. Let me go here. So I should also show you guys this document, so you can look in the. So if you guys go to the link I just sent in the chat, you'll see a whole bunch more commands that kind of go more in depth into the stuff I'm talking about, because I won't have time to go over everything, but we'll try. So next what I'll talk about is the ls command, which is list. And it's literally exactly what it sounds like. When you go into File Explorer, you automatically already have a list of stuff here, right? You can see in my desktop, I have OneDrive, libraries, up here, bubble folder, I have the bubble file. It just lists out everything I have. And if you went to here, you'll notice that if I'm in my bubble folder right now, it doesn't list out what I have unless I type ls. And that kind of tells me everything that's inside my folder. So ls is basically just a way to see anything that's inside the directory that you're in right now. So if I navigated to documents, you'll see I'm going to have all these stuff in there, right? So I'll show you here. CD documents, ls, all the stuff I have in my documents. It's the exact same thing as this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. So when you're in your File Explorer and you're in Documents, and then you go into, I'll go into here, and then I go into here. And now when I want to go back out, I hit this up arrow, right? It takes me up one directory. See CMPE, now I'm going to go to Documents by hitting this one arrow. So the way to do this in a command line interface is actually also pretty simple. CD dot dot. One dot means the current directory you're in right now. Two dots means the directory above. So when I hit CD dot dot, notice now I'm on my desktop. If I hit CD dot dot again, I'm going to go to here, Rican. There we go. To get back to the desktop, right, I just do CD desktop, just like that. So that's how you navigate from, a higher directory to a lower directory, or vice versa. Now, from at this point here, I'm just going to do another ls, right, to list out all the stuff I have. And also, I want to get you guys' input here. Why do you think some of these things are highlighted and some of these things are not highlighted? Like, why do you think contacts is highlighted but cookies isn't? Could someone guess for me? Nobody knows?
For the
It's fine if you guys don't. I was just curious. Like, just make a guess. It's okay.
I mean, like, it's like the temporary record thing.
Not quite. Here, I'll say this. When you're in your File Explorer, why do some of these things have different icons? You can tell that this is a folder, right? And over here, this is a text document. You can tell over here, this is something to do with Firefox. So we have different icons to, differentiate things. Here, things are highlighted when they're a directory. So you can see downloads, documents, desktops. These are all directories. CD desktop. That's a directory. ls, notice how bubble folder and folder stuff are highlighted because of directories. If I just create a file here, and then I do another ls, notice how file isn't highlighted? And the reason being is because it's not a directory. If I try to navigate to file, it's going to say that's not a directory. And, also if you try to open a text file for folder stuff, oh, wow. Oh, that's because it's creating a file called folder stuff. But yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, also the clear command clears any previous commands. I use it all the time, sometimes by mistake, when I don't mean to. It's kind of a bad habit. Every time you type a command, you just clear it before even looking at the data. So it's a good habit to not get used to using clear every single time you type something, because you kind of go a little bit crazy with it. Okay, any questions so far? I went over a whole bunch of basic stuff. I think now what we'll start doing is talking about some of the more complicated stuff. But that's if you guys feel ready. Like, does anyone want to review, or if anyone came in late, do you have any questions on what we've done so far? No?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
So when you branch off from a directory into like a subdirectory and you want to go back, what was the command for that again?
CD dot dot.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
How do you get the Linux to run in the Windows terminal? Are you using subsystem Linux?
Yeah, I'm WSL. I was going to talk about it at the end, but I guess I can mention it now. If you guys look, if you have a Windows computer, it's super easy to just start running Ubuntu on your machine. You literally Ubuntu from the Microsoft Store. You download this, and it'll install an app on your computer called Ubuntu, which is a command line interface and for Linux. So this is basically a fully working Ubuntu machine running on top of my Windows machine, which is actually really cool. I use it all the time for stuff. Although I don't use the Ubuntu terminal, I use the Windows terminal because you can switch between Windows PowerShell, command prompts. I've never used that, and then Ubuntu. So it's actually really easy to do this. It's not a very complicated process. But I will say, if you really want to get good at Linux, it's also worth trying out a virtual machine, because with a virtual machine, you're not as limited. Like, there are some stuff you cannot do with the Windows subsystem for Linux. I know, especially when I was trying to do some like ethical hacking stuff, like penetration testing, Nmap, all that stuff, it doesn't work here, but it would work on a virtual machine. So yeah, but it's better than nothing. I recommend getting Ubuntu on your Windows laptop. I mean, it takes like 30 seconds. It's a very, very simple process.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you do cd space ...
Mhm.
instead of going just one previous folder, can you do it 2 folders behind or something like that? Because I know
No.
that it was just previously one.
Yeah, you can't go, like, you see here, I can't go from desktop to users directly.
I see.
Just like, if you're here and I'm on desktop, I mean, I guess you could by clicking, but normally if you're just hitting this up arrow, it takes you one at a time. However, if you just type the word CD, it's going to take you to the root, which is this. See how it takes me to the very, very like beginning. There's no path here anymore.
Yeah.
So it takes you to the very top of the directory, which is the equivalent in File Explorer of going up, 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 up to very here.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And also, I forgot to mention that if I've never used this command, to be honest, pwd, it just tells you where you are. I never need to use it though, because if you just look here, you'll see where you are all the time just by looking there. But yeah, good to know. pwd stands for print working directory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? And we have plenty of time, so don't feel bad. No? Okay. All right, so now we'll go over a little bit more complicated stuff. I'll start with VI. And first, let me go over the difference, right? So we talked about Nano, really basic text editor. You could go in and use Nano with, literally zero experience. But it's not as powerful because it's so easy to use. VI is not as easy to use. It takes a little bit, it has a bit of a learning curve, but it's very powerful and there's a lot more you can do. And I'll give an example of how we would use VI and also talk about why you'd want to use VI. So just to practice, I'm going to create a new folder called VI stuff. I'm going to CD into VI stuff. I'm going to list, even though I know there's nothing in there. Right now you can see no output, it's clear. Okay, so I'm going to create a text file. I'll call this text file. So I should talk about the difference as well. So touch creates a text file, but doesn't open it, right? If you did VI or Nano, it creates and opens the text file. So that's the difference between those two things. I like to just do touch before creating a new, before opening the file. Okay, so VI and then text file takes you here, which already looks very different from Nano, right? So to insert, if you just try to start typing, you get all these really annoying buzzing sounds that I hate. So in order to actually start typing, you have to hit, I. I is for insert mode. So once you're in insert mode, you can start typing whatever you want, the same way you normally would. It's all good. You can pretend that it's Nano, and you could use it like it's Nano just by hitting enter, using the arrow keys and all that. But I mean, there's really no point. If all you know how to do is insert, there's no point of using Vim, because it's like, why? You might as well just use Nano. If you want to get good at Vim, you have to learn the different commands there are. So every time you want to use a command in Vim, and I want to specify this is not a Linux command, it's specifically for Vim, you'd hit escape. See how it took me into a different mode? And then you would type like the specific command you want. So in this case, I'm going to go over here, the dd command. And dd deletes a whole line of text, and just really easy. So watch, dd, it's gone, right? I go I'll type some stuff here, new stuff, more stuff, hello stuff, right? Escape. I'll go with the arrow keys. Let's say I want to get rid of this whole line, dd, and now it's completely gone, right? Much faster than starting here and deleting the whole way through. So dd. ww deletes a whole word. Or I guess not. Actually, I think I messed that up. That's fine. I forgot the command to delete a whole word. I actually don't use Vim too much because there are so many commands. But I do know that U undoes any actions you've done. So you hit U and it undoes everything. I to insert, escape, dd, U. Stuff like that. I honestly am not an expert in Vim, but I just kind of wanted to briefly introduce it to you guys so you can see that there are alternatives to Nano, and there's actually some pretty powerful things you can do in Vim. You can also search within Vim, and you can do really specific searches. Like if you had hello, and then you had hello, you could make a specific command to only find this one versus this one and this one. So it's pretty powerful. But I don't really type too much, so I don't really need to use it. Now also to exit Vim, it's probably one of the most annoying things ever. You have to hit Shift:\WQ, enter. And that's how you exit and save. So that's like a really brief Vim intro. And obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's not hard, right? If you just go here and you do Vim commands, you can find everything you need right here. And it's pretty easy to use. It's just, you're not going to be able to memorize all these without practicing it a lot. Wow, there's a lot of commands. I didn't even realize that there's this many. Okay, any questions so far on Vim or the difference between Vim and Nano? No? Okay. Yeah.
So we don't need to specify the extension name of files, right?
So it depends. I know that sometimes people do, and there's like a purpose. But obviously, if I'm going to use Nano here, if I'm making a Python file, I have to add the .py at the end. And so
Oh, I see.
now I could do this. And actually, while we're here, I might as well show you how easy it is to run a Python program in terminal. Python file.py. Oh man, hold on. It's because I don't have Python downloaded. I lied to you guys. But I think we can still do it. Documents, vi stuff, Python file.py. Hello. I just ran a Python file that was really, really basic. Things like this, I didn't really talk about, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just kind of overloading you guys with a whole bunch of things that you can do in Linux, so you realize that there's more to it than just navigating directories. But obviously knowing that is really important, and hopefully if we have some time at the end, I'll talk a little bit about ethical hacking in Kali and how Linux is so useful for that. But yeah, in the meantime, let's go over some other important concepts that you should know: piping and redirecting. But before I do it, just to double check, everyone good? No questions so far? Yeah? Okay. So for piping, we'll go over this here. Let's say you have, notice I'm navigating back to Rican. I'm going to go to my desktop. And on my desktop, I'm going to create a whole bunch of text files. A, B, C, D, ABBA, DABA, Kappa. Okay, I just made a whole bunch of text files, right? If I type ls to list it out, I'll see on my desktop all the stuff I made. And notice that these are highlighted because these are directories. Okay, so obviously listing it out is good because I want to know what's there. But there's some more stuff you can do. Because let's say I only wanted to have the stuff listed out that has an A in it, right? Like I don't care about B, I don't care about bubble folder or anything that doesn't have an A. I only want the stuff that has A. So you could do ls grep A, and I'm going to talk about this more. But notice now when I hit enter, I'm listing out everything that has an A in it, and the A's are highlighted in red. So notice folder stuff or bubble folder or C, D, none of that stuff showed up here, only the things with an A. Now the way this command works is using a concept called piping. So piping, I'll read this out. Piping is a form of redirection, which basically means if you have a command like ls, I don't want to list out everything. I specifically want to list it out I specifically want to list out things that have A. And the way that's done is with this little piping thing here that you can kind of think of it as like a filter, right? So ls filtered by grep A. Grep means search. So you can just think of it as it's synonymous with search. So basically, search and find the letter A. Anything that has the letter A, filter it through here and list it out. And that's how we got here. Does that make sense? I mean, this concept was kind of confusing for me when I first started. So it's totally fine if this doesn't make sense right now. But I kind of want to know how you guys are feeling. Like, what do you know so far about like what this command does? How do you guys feel with it? So
Yeah, I think I get the concept.
you get it? Okay. Do all the rest of you get it? I mean, it's totally fine if you don't. I'd be surprised if you all got it, honestly.
Wait. So how do you do that like grep command for like files? Like to like go through that within like a text file or something?
through a text file?
Yeah.
Oh, so that would be using Vim here, and so hold on. I can search up the command in Vim, but yeah, here there was. Let me do this again. So to search in multiple files, Vim grep pattern file. I've honestly never done this, so I have no idea how this would work. But yeah, I know that you can search within text files. I've never really had the need to do it, but here, let me see. / pattern, search for pattern. Okay, let me see. I can't guarantee this will work, so let me just try something out. Bubble file. No. Oh, hold on. I think I have to do that like this. Pattern. Yeah, okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff that comes into searching in text files. I really have very little experience with doing that, to be honest. It's really not difficult. It's just there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to look into. Like, I can't find them here, but basically, like asterisks. If you have like the word E and then asterisk, it will print out everything after the E. So anytime you have E in a text file, it'll look for it, and then it's going to print out everything that comes afterward. And they have like another one's like a question mark, which I think stops it at E. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I wouldn't worry about that too much now, especially if you're starting out, because not that it's complicated. It's just it's very command heavy, and if you're just getting around using ls, cd, pwd, and that stuff still feels kind of new, starting to search with patterns probably isn't the best thing to do. But yeah, sorry, I'm not too good with searching.
Okay.
I don't want to spend like too long figuring that out. But if you want, you can stay after, and I can go through it with you if we figure something out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Any other questions? Like, are you really good with this? Like, this actually makes sense? How this is working? Yeah. Okay.
Not really good, but I understand it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd be surprised if you guys were really good. That was just one example, and I just want to make sure you kind of follow the concept. But here, there's more you can do with it, right? So here, this is again another example of piping, or I really like to think of it as filtering, because that's what it is. Like, imagine a water filter. You're stopping all the gunk from getting in the water. Same thing. I'm stopping all the unnecessary stuff from being listed out. So here, grep C, grep A, and then ls. So you start from the back. Grep C means search everything that has the letter C in it. So immediately here, let me list this out here. Anything that has the letter C in it is actually, let me make some new stuff that has C. Touch, C yoga, C, yeah. Okay. So now you'll see we have a whole bunch of stuff that has C in it. So when you type grep C, it's going to take anything with a C. So this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, right? And then we have another command called grep A. So that means everything that has a C in it also needs to have an A. So we're filtering it even further. So we started with a C filter, now we're going to an A filter. So I go here, does this have an A in it? Nope. Does this have an A? Yep. Does this have an A? Yep. Does this have an A? Yep. So these three are the only three that are going to be listed out. Does that make more sense? Are you guys starting to see the concept? It's all it is filtering. If I do the same thing, oh no, actually I'll go over this too. If you hit the up arrow, it gives you the previous command. So I can go all the way up. It's just whatever command I had. So if I go like this and I change this, I also want it to have grep Y. This means C-A-Y, and I'll make this kind of like a group exercise. What do you guys think the output's going to be here?
CS yoga.
CS yoga. Yep. Good. Do you guys get how we got there? Does it make sense? It's difficult to gauge how you guys are feeling because no one's saying much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just have a quick question though.
Yeah.
So I noticed that only the C's are highlighted. I guess like it doesn't really matter, right? It just like highlights the first letter.
Yeah, I just because that's the most restrictive filter, right? Before anything else, we had to make sure there's a C. So there has to be a C, and then once you find one with a C, also then make sure there's an A, and also make sure there's a Y. But yeah, I guess it just does the first one. Different, and this is just using Windows Terminal, so maybe it would have been different using another type of terminal. But yeah.
All right.
Good
All right,
question.
thanks.
Any other questions about this? You guys good? Okay. I'll take it as you guys are good. This, obviously, you can use piping for more stuff than just, direction. I can give another example. What I'll do is cd bubble folder. There's a command called code, period, and that only works if you have Visual Studios installed on your computer. If you have Visual Studios, whenever you type code D in a directory, it opens up that directory in Visual Studios. Oh, damn. Well, we have to install and stuff. Hold on. Yeah. So now everything I had in here is opened up in Visual Studios. But there's also a way to do two commands at once. Let's say I want VI stuff, everything in this folder, to open up in Visual Studios like it is here. So I'll close this out. Well, you could do it separately, right? I could first CD into VI stuff, and then I could type code. Or I could be cool and I could use piping. And there you go. And then again, we have to wait for this thing, which I'm not going to wait for. So this is a little bit of a different example of how redirecting is used. It's not so much a filter. At this point, it's code. So I do want to open up code, but what do I want to open up code with? Well, I want it to be this folder. Don't worry too much if this command doesn't make too much sense. Again, this is just an introductory course, and obviously piping, we could talk about piping for like an hour. It's a bit more complicated. But yeah, it's just a very general overview of how it works. Hopefully those grep examples made sense. If they didn't, please let me know, because now we're going to go on to redirecting, which actually is a little bit easier, I'll say. It's not too difficult. Are you good? Do you have a question? Or? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So anyways, let's go over redirecting now. Let me CD to my desktop and ls. let's cd to bubble folder. Okay. So this is the contents of bubble file. If you guys remember, I'm catting, which means I'm printing out all the output of bubble file. So here's everything, right? So let's say I want to actually create another text file, but I don't feel like using Nano. I don't feel like using Vim. I just want to type from the terminal window, and I just want to type a quick sentence in. Well, there's a couple things you need to know first. If I type echo hello world, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to echo right back to me. Echo hello world. Now, with redirecting, you can redirect this output here, this hello world output, to wherever I want to send it to. So let's say I want to send it to a file. If I type echo, well, let me make a text file first. File A. File A has been made. If I do echo hello world and I redirect this output, so this is, I'll explain actually once I type it, file A. So this is basically saying, you guys already know what echo hello world does. It echoes exactly what I have in the quotes. And then it redirects this, instead of going out to the terminal window, this guy funnels the output. So it takes the larger end, goes into the smaller end here, and it funnels that output to file A. So when if I hit enter, notice I don't have an output like I used to, but if I cat file A, I have the word hello world. That is redirecting. It's actually not too difficult. It's just whatever's on the left side of this arrow is going to be funneled to whatever's on the right side. We could take this a little further, and let's say I do cat file A, and I want to direct the contents to, let me make a new text file, file B. So I'll direct the contents of file A to file B. So I'm funneling this output into file B. Now here's a little bit more of a tricky example, and I want you guys to tell me what you think this would do. What do you think this is going to do, this command? Does nobody know? I feel like one of you guys at least knows. Do you guys remember what the 2 dots mean?
To the root. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, both of you guys, give me both your answers.
I was just saying it's gonna go to the root directory.
Yeah,
I would say the same thing.
Okay, so root directory means this. All the way back here, right? If you want to go, the dot actually takes you up one directory. So you would be going from desktop to recant. Is that what you meant, or did you mean root directory? Because I feel like you may have just got the like wording confused, which is fine because I do that too. Okay, that's fine. So
No, I get it now.
okay, cool. So yeah, if we do this, move A, hold on, I forgot where A was actually. Let's move into bubble folder. So remember, here's A. If I do move A ... remember these 2 dots means going up one directory. So I'm gonna move A up one directory. So I'm gonna move it to desktop. So now if you look, A is no longer here, it's back at the desktop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. So those are like the basic stuff of how to work your way around a command line interface. We have like 5 minutes left, so we do kind of have time for this. I'm going to open up my Kali Linux VM and show you guys. I think I typed the password wrong. Hold on. Damn, I typed it wrong again. Give me a second, guys. TO. There we go. So I'm going to show you how we would use Linux in something like a really basic example. I'm going through a course right now to learn this stuff, so I'm not an expert, but I'll give an example. So here's a Linux command, ifconfig, and it basically lists out the different interfaces you have along with your IP address and your MAC address. If you don't know what an IP and MAC address is, don't worry about it. I'll just briefly explain that a MAC address is like this permanent address that is unique to your device. So I could say my iPhone has 112233445566. And then, you know, my laptop might have AA, BB, CC, DD, EE, FF, something like that. It's just 12 characters spaced apart, put in groups of 2 spaced apart by colons. So just know that it's a permanent address that's unique to your device. But if you can change that address temporarily to gain access to a network or to confuse devices on the network to sending you information that you shouldn't be receiving, I can show you how to do that. So if config, and I'm going to kind of briefly explain the commands, but I don't expect you guys to really understand it without, oops. I'll explain it after it's done. ETH0 ether 001122. I may have made a typo. Hold on. I don't want to spend too long doing this, but basically, I'm putting the ETH0 interface down, so I'm shutting it down. And then, well, I was trying to change the MAC address, but I think I made a typo, or I might have forgot something. Because again, this is kind of new to me. I kind of forget the command sometimes. So I would be changing the MAC address to this, and then I would be putting it back up. I wrote a Python script that does this as well. You guys should know what these commands are doing, right? ls, cd, I'm cding into a course directory. ls again, I have a whole bunch of stuff. I'll run Python modified MAC address changer. I'll pick Ethernet 0 and The MAC address, I'll make it 001122. Damn, we are having some problems. File modified. To be honest, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is being weird. But anyways, I can open up the Python file and I'll show you. My bad, guys. I was trying to show you something cool, but I guess I can't. But yeah, see here, fconfig Python, Linux commands, and we're basically interacting with the terminal in Python, which is kind of cool. But yeah, for some reason, that's not working. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But anyways, what I was trying to show you was that Linux is used everywhere. And this is an example of how I'd be using it, for like penetration testing, temporarily changing my MAC address. You can also do stuff like there's some cool ARP stuff you could be doing, like you do a network scanner. And this is all of it is using Python, but the basics of these commands are also all in Linux. So yeah, that's probably not very useful. But anyways, that kind of sums up our workshop. I know the end was kind of like a little bit messy, but I was just trying to give you guys an overview of how Linux is used everywhere. It's also used a lot for development. It's so much easier to develop applications in Linux than it is for like Windows or Mac OS. So it's useful. It's a very good skill to have. It's kind of assumed on for a lot of jobs that you should know some basics, which I did teach today. So you guys won't be embarrassed like in an interview, but you should know, definitely know how to navigate directories, how to make text files, how to do a little basics of Vim, and stuff like that. Not knowing how to do that will, one, make you look pretty bad, but also it's just, it's so easy. It's also like, why not learn it? But yeah, obviously Linux can get more complicated, especially if you're doing some sysadmin tasks and stuff like that, which I didn't really go over because we didn't have time. But yeah, hopefully this gave you guys a good enough understanding of Linux and what you can do with it. Are there any questions or any like requests if you guys want me to review something? Okay, so I will say that that's a no to questions and stuff. So yeah, I guess with that, I'll let most of you go. If some of you want to stay at the end to ask a question or just go over something, please feel free to. If you can't now and you can later, just again, ping me. You have my username, it's @stone. So yeah, all right guys, I'll just let you go. Adios.
All right, thank you.
Sure thing.
All right, thanks, bro. Take it easy.
You too.
Nice job, Rocky.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.